Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm still thinking it's morning. I'm going to call the regular Board of Selectmen meeting to order for April 7th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. With me at the table is Selectwoman Jude Reed and Selectman Jim Lampos. And we have a few members of the public with us as well. Information items, communications, and correspondences continue to be CC'd on a number of emails going back and forth to zoning about the hearing on Wednesday night, right?
Yes, the
Wednesday
night.
And other than that, it's been relatively quiet in my camp as far as correspondence. Anything from you, Jude?
I've had a couple of communications from people still concerned about speeding. And then I had someone ask me a question about procedures with ethics. And I directed them to the town hall website. I don't know if they were able to contact anyone.
Procedures for what?
With their filing an ethics complaint or procedural and schedule for the ethics.
I believe that's
meeting.
all on the web, their ethics page, and they do have an email and it does go to their new chair, but I will tell you that he's out of the country this week.
Okay, good. And I saw their meeting is canceled as well.
Anything, Jim?
Just the CCs on those Halls Road to zoning
Okay.
questions.
All right. So it's time for public comment. Is there anyone here in the audience for public comment?
No, we need to comment yet.
Okay. Nancy, anything? Okay. Is there anyone online who would like to offer public comment? Andre, do you want to unmute yourself?
Sure, thank you. I'll keep it brief because I know you have to run across the street for another meeting. Three things of interest on the agenda tonight that I saw. Firstly, the beach stipend committee. If that committee actually gets formed, I would like to volunteer to be a member of that committee. The White Sand Beach gazebo, you guys are like bulldogs. You just can't let go of that one. But you know, just back of the napkin math, if you end up investing that kind of money into that gazebo, it'll be one of the most expensive real estate projects going on in the state right now at $500 a square foot. So I don't know what you heard from Rec, but based on what I see daily, it's not used and certainly doesn't need or require that kind of an investment being put into it. And lastly is the golf carts. I know you're going to have a first reading on an ordinance tonight. Hopefully you get rid of golf carts in the entire town forever. But that's just my very humble opinion. And if you are going to get rid of them, I hope you would push that down to the private beach associations, because we could use a hand with our golf cart problem that we have here at White Sand Beach. Other than that, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. Scott, Mary, Carolyn, anyone else online? There's an unverified resident. Okay, hearing none.
No, wait. Can you hear me? This is Mary.
Hi, Mary. Go ahead.
Hi, I just had to unmute myself. Thank you. Hey, I just wanted to touch on the minutes from last. I might have dialed in a minute late, but I sent you a correction to what I had said last month. What I was trying to say was not that the cost to the homeowner for sewers would be $8,900. That would be a piece of cake. No, just the cost to connect from my property to the curb. The estimate, the written estimate I got and passed on to you was $8,960. And that's only one little portion of the expenses that the Soundview property owners will have to bear. So just trying to correct that in the minutes. Thank you.
Mary, if you'll be so kind to send me that correction, because today I forgot to add the May 17th, the minutes from the March 17th regular meeting. So we'll be correcting those in 2 weeks along with today's. So if you could just send me that blurb, I'll make sure that correction goes in.
Okay, thank you very much, Martha. I'll take care of that today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else online? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to approval of minutes of March 17th, 2025, the special Board of Selectmen meeting when we were in executive session. I hope that, have you both had a copy to look at them here? Oh, I'll give you the minute. I didn't
have it.
make copies.
Have it, thank you.
Okay,
And we are not doing the regular minutes?
no, because I forgot to put them on, because I did a quick cut and paste and
Didn't know.
something pasted and something didn't. So
I didn't know if we were going to add it to the
no, I
agenda.
know you don't like to do that. So I said, oh, we'll just move it to next week. So can I have a motion to accept the special meeting, Board of Selectmen meeting from March 17th when we went into executive session?
I'll make a motion to approve the March 17th special Board of Selectmen meeting minutes.
Can I have
I'll
a second?
second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, under new business. As you know, we've had a long-standing stipend agreement with the private beach associations and through discussions with the Board of Selectmen during budget season and the Board of Finance, we really do feel and request from one of the beach associations that it is time to bring together a committee for those private beaches to have a discussion with and I'd like a Board of Finance member and a Board of Selectmen member on the committee to come together to have some discussions. There's a lot of different things that we could do to help alleviate some cost, but also to develop the stipend formula, which could be much easier. And I know Anita Mancini also has an idea of how to do the stipend in a more simplified manner than what it is now. So, and I think some of the other beach associations who have gone into this with us over the years also have some ideas. So I think it's a great time. I'm just looking to see if either one of you have any feedback on that, any interest in joining that group, because as you know, only one of us can sit on it.
The question I have is, do we need to form another committee in town, or is this a workshop
This is
sort of
just-
thing
this
that
is
we can
just-
just get together and work on this
Right.
without forming another board committee or
Right,
commission?
we just have to report, whoever is the select person in charge is going to have to report back to the select people.
Okay, but this is not going to be a monthly meeting that goes on forever.
No, I would say this is a working group that may last 2 to 3 months, depending on how often you meet.
I'm willing to be on that working group. I think Jim has a better understanding than I do of the beach communities. But,
and I'm willing to do it, if it doesn't last forever.
Okay,
well, that's it. I just, when I see committee, I didn't want to be forming an ongoing committee with a,
I understand, and it
Yeah.
has to be, it's a working group. We're gonna have to just follow whatever the laws are under FOIA.
Mhm.
It's definitely gonna be a public meeting, but it's basically a very short subcommittee of this group.
I would like to attend those meetings. Again, Jim, if you know more than I do and you feel strongly about being part of it, that's fine. If
I
not,
don't
then
feel
I'm fine.
strongly about it,
Okay.
I understand it needs to be revisited.
It does. And we had talked about it last fall.
I mean, I have thoughts, but I don't have any, program to,
But you can also give us those thoughts. Provide those.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
This is, okay, so I'm gonna put you both on it and then we'll ask for various
Okay.
people.
Is this what you sent us already?
No, this is golf carts. I did not send you golf carts. I'm giving you this. It's the first read.
Okay,
And we aren't, so basically I have taken, what we had for the, golf cart ordinance for Soundview and have reconstructed it to be for a town of Old Lyme. I have incorporated, Hawks Nest into it because those are town roads. So those are, anything that I've added is in red. You'll also notice the Connecticut general statutes are in red because of the fact that there have been some changes of October 2024. So I put those in red because I knew the lawyers would be looking at them.
Okay.
You realize anything that we do has to go through the legal team. So basically, this is a first read. I would just give this to you as homework, and hopefully in 2 weeks, we have come to an agreement. So if you want to send me your thoughts so I can incorporate them in, that would be great. I know that I'm pretty sure that we provided you with a lot of information when Vicky did all of her. So if you want to look back on some of that homework that we had given a month or two ago.
I have a
Feel
question
free.
on this. To Andre's point, we cannot disallow golf carts in town. It's a Connecticut law now that they are able to be used, or can
No,
they be
we
excluded?
can.
We can exclude them?
Sure.
Okay. Just making sure that I
Basically,
didn't misunderstand something
The
here.
state was opening up some more options.
Got it.
So
but we still retain our right to
Okay.
limit.
we can limit
Golf carts.
where the ordinance says any street in town that's 25 or below
Exactly.
a golf cart can be on.
Mhm.
So, and then it's up to the individual towns to put their parameters up.
Alrighty.
And so,
And you did give us quite a few the other day.
yes,
Thank
there
you.
are, so there are a lot of towns, there's for you that don't have anything. Okay. Jet ski. Oh,
Can we get a copy of that so we can actually review it
well, I'm gonna,
on the golf cart? I know it's just
it's not,
First
I'm
draft.
it's just a first draft. Next, in 2 weeks, first of all, you're gonna have to vote on it because has to go to town meeting. But once we get it into the final format, it will go out for public review and comment.
But wouldn't some public comment be helpful in the interim to just understand how you're going or aiming?
If you look, I can tell you this, that if you look on Sound View, under Sound View, you'll find this exact ordinance, except basically anywhere where it says Sound View, it's been changed to Town of Old Lyme. And that's what the basis of this is. So I would go through the Sound View one. The changes in this are basically to include the streets in Hawks Nest, which are town roads. And the only other thing would be the effective date, which would change 15 days after the town meeting, which actually would be June 3rd. And if we decide to add tickets and fines.
but it gives us an idea of where you're going with it.
So look at the Sound View.
Yeah, a copy would be great. So we
If there is a copy, go online, go to the Sound View page and look up their golf cart ordinance. It's right, it should be right there. If not, email me and I'll get you a draft copy. This one doesn't say draft on it, so I don't want to send it out because I don't want people to think that it is. All right, also up for any questions on golf carts?
No.
Okay. Jet ski ordinance. Jim did a first draft of that. And Jim, you didn't send it to me in Word form, so I couldn't put draft all over it again. So if you want to send it to me again with the word draft, I'd really appreciate it.
Will do.
So again, is there anything in your first read through this? I'm not sure well, I do see background, but I'm not sure how much we have to include in that in the actual ordinance, right?
No, I don't think the background needs to be included at all.
Okay.
That was free
For us.
for us.
Okay.
Or the public or whatever. Why are we doing this? But the proposed jet ski ordinance in italics is the salient part that will go to a public meeting.
Did you happen to find any other towns that have them?
Yeah,
I
in
did.
fact, I
Right.
have them
Yep.
attached here. Madison, New London, Waterford, Westbrook,
You had a number of them.
Milford,
Milford.
Greenwich,
That's true.
Westport, and there are
Greenwich.
more. I looked at the ordinances for every town along the coast, from westerly Rhode Island down to New York.
Good for you.
And where I didn't find ordinances, I contacted the harbor masters or the select people, mayor, Parks and Rec, to confirm they didn't have ordinances. And some, like Old Lyme, do not. Stonington falls in that category. They really don't have a lot of beach in Stonington. It's mostly a boating community. So I confirmed that towns that deal with jet skis do it through ordinance. And these are some of the salient ones. You know, Madison has a really robust one. It's 300 feet from any designated town beach. You can't have a jet ski. The harbor master can seize the boat and seize the watercraft or whatever. New London has a good one. And there's, you know, various versions of it. And so that's what I based our ordinance on. And it's basically to keep the jet skis off the swim lines. And it's basically to keep the jet skis out of the boat taxi lane. There only should be one water taxi in that lane, and that's to ferry people from the moorings outside of the swim area into the bar or to the beach so they could access the bar. So the jet skis would have to act more like a boat and less like just a free for all where they land on the beach and refuel and do all kinds of things. I did have a conversation today with Frank Pappalardo of SBC, who took a look at this too. And there was a compromise that we were thinking, if necessary, to put jet ski moorings outside of the swim lines, outside of the water taxi area, but maybe at 50 feet. Maybe 100 feet is too far, maybe 50 feet from the swim area. So, you know, that's something I think the harbor master
I was going to say that'd be something
would weigh in
additional.
on, you know. I don't want to make it closer because 50 feet really is not
That
long.
far.
And
Yep.
if a jet skier is coming in, I mean, it's like, you know, with wave action, they'll be right on the swim line. So to come into a mooring, maybe at 50 feet at dead slow speed is possible. I'd like to see it at 100, but that's a compromise that Frank suggested. And I think, you know, we can live with that.
Is that the only beach in town that seems to have any sort of jet ski complaints?
Well,
Problems?
the issue is down there is that you have the two bars.
bar,
So
right.
people from Greenport, from Westbrook, from all over are like, oh, let's hit the bar. you know?
Absolutely.
So they barrel into Soundview and then they see this boat lane. They're like, here we go. And they beach it on the beach, you know, and I've seen them refueling on the beach, spilling gasoline everywhere.
And I get all that, but I didn't know if any of the other private beaches in that area are having any problems with people just using it as a launch place in and out or a
Nancy,
place to visit.
Nancy,
So we have kind of stopped, you know, people from watching the
Mhm.
beach. Where we become concerned is now, I mean, old harbor master, number three, kind of quite realized it. We have an emergency lane, so now we have our outer swim line is open. So we're kind of concerned that because that little piece is open, which has never been open before.
Gotcha.
That may cause people to come in.
An invitation.
With them last year, so we're hoping that continues.
Well, that's why I think this might help because if it
Yes.
keeps people 100 feet off any swim area.
I was
That-
wondering if
that
that
would-
was just a sound view or if that was gonna be like a town.
It's, the way I worded it was of any deep designated swim area. So
So any place.
that would include Hawks Nest.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
it would prevent them from going into that emergency lane.
do you have problems with the beach club?
People come very close, right up to the swim lines and then pull up on the beach to visit other people, say at Mile Creek or the beach club, or they just say, oh, it's an open space. I'm going to come in there and hang out. And it's the physical harm and safety that people are worried about most. Because
You know, there are regulations in other towns. I didn't
Yep.
want to overreach. I
Mhm.
didn't want to, you know, I don't want to tell a private beach. You
No,
can't do
of course
this.
not.
But New London, for example,
Yeah.
any private or public beach, you
Yeah.
can't bring a jet ski within 200 feet of
I
it,
like that.
you know, unless there's a lane. So I'd be totally happy to go along with that.
In some ways, it might
there's a
be
willingness to
easier to
extend.
make it a town-wide because I
Yeah.
really don't see where any of the private beaches use their beaches 4 jet skis?
I've
They
seen-
have to get launched into the
I've seen
river or a
people land-
state beach.
I've seen people landing them at Edgeley and places, Hatchett's, nature preserve, places they shouldn't be.
I
just didn't want to begin this with an overreach, but if
Well,
there's.
sometimes it might be better to start big and go small if you need to.
But if there is, sentiment for doing that, I think it would be appropriate. to
I
do
don't
that.
think there'd be a
And
harm in it.
to follow the New London example, and the Madison
Mm-hmm.
example.
I really like the fact that Westport has a definition of what a boat is.
I
Yeah.
saw that.
I think that's very
Yeah,
helpful. For those. So,
But nice job, Johnson. Thank
yes,
you.
very nice job. So if we, the point is that for us to approve these personally in draft form, to approve in draft form at our next meeting, so they can go to council to be reviewed. And then a
That's great,
final
21.
review, they
Yep.
would go on our warning if by any chance something happened where it needed more time, it can be taken off the warning.
Right.
But we do have, due to the fact that, well, one of the ones that we're talking about later is that, our warning now for town meeting really has to go out the 2 Fridays before. So we're almost
Right.
2 weeks before, because of the fact that these newspapers are not publishing legal notices on a daily basis. So they're only giving us like a Friday, like some towns. And that's because between November 1st and
Mhm.
May 30th, for those of you in the audience, we publish in the Hartford Current, the New Britain Tribune, is it New Britain
New Britain.
Tribune and
Springfield.
Springfield
Mhm.
paper as well. And that was because of our ordinance that we're going to get to later today, because it was done because there were so many people in the shoreline community that lived in those areas. But after last year's survey, we found that a lot of those people were not reading those newspapers anymore. Some of them those newspapers had gone to online only, and people were having a hard time locating those types of legal notices within them. So we're coming up to that next part.
It'd be great, Jim, or all of us, if we can get the next draft so that it can be done for the summer.
Yes. So if we do this,
Mhm.
15, according to Vicky, these ordinances would come into play as of June 3rd. So
Which is our-
Memorial Day weekend may be tight, but June 3rd, everything would come into play. So it
Maybe
has
it'll
a
rain that
15
day.
days.
do you want me to come up with language? Doing the entire coastal line?
I think, yes, and I think we could add the definition of what,
Boat.
I mean, you have boats and jet skis, but I think that
Mhm.
if we could add that in as well. And Jude, if you see anything in that you want added, I think that if you can just email Jim and
I
say,
will.
I suggest this. And then we do a second, and if you can send it out in draft form to us before the next meeting, then we can be ready to go.
The only thing I see is that we incorporate, so we don't have to come back again if there's an issue someplace else. I think we should just make it a blanket.
Private and public.
Mhm.
Is Mr. Greco still on?
Yeah, I'm curious what his thoughts might be.
Andre, do you have thoughts on jet skis at White Sands?
Well, they basically come up onto the shore wherever they can find a spot, whether that is around a swim lane or
Mm,
next to a private citizen's swim lane. And they do shuttle in to grab kids to take them out to boats. It's an issue. We don't have it that often, but I would say, 15 to 20 times a year, we do have jet skis up on the beach.
Thank you.
right.
Okay,
When you say cover boats, they're
Well-
kayaks or.
The way it's written, it would in terms of coming into the swim area. It would have to be off the swim area.
But it doesn't mean that if you're in a kayak or a paddleboard, you couldn't come in next and beach it.
but
in your safety lane.
but if you have, and again, we can carve stuff out, but if you have like a kayak put in or a place designated for kayaks, we can designate that.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
been trying to get paddleboards not in our swim area. That's gonna-
Paddleboard
Yeah.
should not be in the swim area.
I
period.
know, I think it's,
Yeah.
I think Deep has changed the rule that says they can be in now, so maybe.
Really?
So I
That's
have done
unfortunate.
research.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what I was hoping that this would also cover.
Yeah.
paddleboards.
Yeah, the way it's written now, it covers any kind of vessel used in water transportation. So it wouldn't be floating devices, obviously a kid's float is not going to be covered,
No.
but, a kayak would be.
Anything further?
No.
Okay, we'll move as quickly as possible on those and we'll get draft copies to those out. So Jim asked me to add the fourth item on new business as a dog park. To this, it is something that we've heard from many people in town that they wish they had a dog park. And Jim went out to do some research and I'll let you take the lead on this.
Okay, so I'll skip all the background. I assume that we're all kind of on the page that we need a dog park and we think it's a good idea. So to get to the crux of it, I looked at all the town assets, land that we already have. And there was a spot that, I haven't fully researched. I don't know if there's a deed covenant, but it looks like a great spot for a dog park. And that's at Cross Lane Recreation Area. It would be behind the firehouse, north of the pond.
Mhm.
So there's a big wooded area there. If you know where the playground at Mile Creek is, the lower playground where the swings are, there's a fence and there's woods. Well, that's town land down there and it's flat. And right at the south end of that area, we have an existing parking area where
Mhm.
people go around the pond on the
Right.
road and they park down there. And there's also a walking trail, handicapped accessible, fairly wide. It goes from the firehouse through the woods and meets up at the pond. So right there, the parking area and that walking trail is right at the south part of this parcel. And it's a flat parcel, be very easily cleared, leave some trees in there, do some ground treatment. I did research on dog parks and what it takes to create them. I love dogs, but I'm not a dog owner, so I'm not the right guy to design this. I would hope we would get a committee of dog owners and
Yes.
Parks and Rec and Public Works and, everyone to weigh in on this.
Will that walking area be incorporated in it?
It
Or
would be adjacent
would that be on
to
the
it.
outside
It'd
of
be
the
on the
park?
outside of it.
Okay.
It'll go right up
That's
to
fine.
it. And if you
Yep.
look at the map that I
I
provided,
saw that. But-
just on that on the first page, on the very south end where that green is, that's where that trail comes right to that where it says
Okay.
101 feet. And then the existing parking's right next to it. So the accessibility is tremendous there. And I set it so that it's 100 feet off the existing wetlands. So we don't have an issue there, 150 feet south of the nearest abutter to keep that woods. And I would hope that we'd probably do a conservation easement to make sure that remains that way. And that abutter also has more wood, so it's quite far from the house up on Mile Creek Road and 30 feet off playground.
Mhm.
So there's a little buffer there.
I don't have a dog now either. And I'm trying to remember back to all the dog parks I visited in cities and locally. Am I correct in thinking that most of them are fenced?
This would have to be
Okay,
fenced
you.
entirely. Yeah, completely fenced in. I read where, like I'm used to dog parks in New York that are tiny, but they say the ideal is between 1 and 5 acres. Anything more than 5 acres is just too much.
Well, there's one in Essex. Is it chew trees or crust trees? And I don't think it's fenced, or if it is, it only sets a boundary on two sides.
Mhm.
So I would encourage if we move forward on this, it be fenced.
I think that would be our major expense would be fencing this, because we do want to stay off the wetlands.
Yes.
We
Wetlands
Yeah.
and pedestrians who
and
aren't dog
yeah.
friendly.
Yeah, and
And-
people use this already. They walk
Yes.
their dogs there, and I went down there and I've been a pain stopping them. Hey, can I talk to you for a second? And they're
Yeah.
like, who are you? But they've all been pretty receptive once we have a
Okay.
conversation. So
Will the goal be Do you think to keep the dogs to the park now and
No.
not on the walking trail?
The goal, I think, is to give people an option to have like a real dog park where dogs can
No,
socialize.
I get
you know,
that,
yeah.
but so
We're gonna have to allow
Well,
them
if-
access on the trail.
Yeah,
to
they're
get
gonna have
the
to
dog.
get there,
Yeah, they're gonna
right?
have to be on
Okay.
the trail to get there.
But it won't be like, probably when I hole in the wall where you go there to the boardwalk and no dogs allowed this way and dogs allowed that way. So
I don't
I guess
see where,
that'll
you
be
know,
a committee.
yeah,
issue.
yeah, we already have restrictions on the beaches
Okay.
for dogs, so I don't think,
Except in the winter.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't see anything that. we
Andre's
should-
shaking his head.
I don't see that we should have further restrictions on.
Okay. So we set up a group to investigate this.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be the idea.
All right. Thank you for doing that. So, Michael Looney had reached out to me in September and again this year about some property on 18 Avon Avenue. This is a small parcel of land. Those, I would assume that most of you have done a little bit of research on it. And is asking, we own it. I reached out to open space and to affordable housing. Both of them said they had no interest in it. And I know that another piece of land like this went for sale during my time as a select person. I know that it has, if we choose to pursue this, it has to be advertised to the town that we're interested in selling it. And then people can make an offer of what they feel is just. But it's, what is it? The total size of this is.
I don't remember the
It's-
size. I
It's
know the location.
0.11 acres.
So it's like 50 by 100 essentially.
So it'll
Yes.
add to their property, I take it.
Yes.
Do we have an indication as to why or how the town first acquired this and for what purpose?
Well, according to this information that I had on this property card, it looks like it was owned by someone in, I don't know when it was, but in 2003, the town bought it for $0 from a Mrs. Hall.
Do we know why the town purchased it?
I do not.
Be
I can
interesting.
have the
Yeah.
assessor's office do a little bit more sleuthing on this. But
Right, and was it
it may
part
have
of the
been.
larger piece that we bought would beg my question.
I know the other section that we sold up in that area was also next to someone else's house. They
Right.
wanted to use it for a garden and to increase their garden size, which they have. And that's all I know about I mean, I've been up there and I know that Michael Foliano at one time did a deep dive into all those small lots to see what was available up there for affordable housing.
Did we
But-
talk to Dave? Maybe it was a fire well or some kind of water source? or-
I don't think so. It's pretty,
Pretty
It's off the
small.
cranberry bog, right?
say again.
It's off the old cranberry bog, so. it may-
Yeah, it's at the end of
Yeah.
a dead end
So I don't know
road.
if there was some kind of,
Mhm.
I know in Soundview, we have town property that's, it doesn't appear to be wet, but it's actually a fire well.
I
So
guess I'm surprised that the town bought it and now we're looking to sell it. I'm curious about how we happen
I think we
to
can
buy
either
it for nothing.
Tim or Bonnie, I'm not sure.
Mm,
who's-
2003, it would have been.
Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody didn't want to pay tax on it anymore. It wasn't abuse. Okay. Other
So-
than what Jim said, I don't have a
So
problem with it.
if this came to be, well, I'll do research with Melinda. But if this comes to be, then this would be able to be one of the things on the town
Mhm.
meeting.
Yep.
I think at that point, you don't have to, well, we'll find out. Okay, so we have a couple of appointments to make. I do have one. So as you know, the America 250 Committee is a little different than our usual committees because this is a short-lived committee. It is for the 1 year of 2026. And we have Ally Lang, who's involved with the library, works at the library and is their person. And she would love to be part of this process. So I think in this case that I would like to be able to say that we would be more than willing, because we're going to have people also from the Flow Grizz
Mhm.
and the other nonprofits who may choose to be involved in this organization. And to have them all say they have to be a resident, I think for this short-lived committee, it's just like midsummer. I think it would be nice if we opened it up to those people that wanted to participate. As long as
Yeah.
it's not 500 people. And
She-
I was going to say, it's like it's
She
the limit.
attended today as a non-voting member. Our meeting was immediately preceding this one. And she's the community engagement librarian
yes,
Mhm.
at Phoebe, and she seems terrific. I mean, I think she's a great asset to the committee. So I would very much like to have her on.
okay, so can I have a motion to appoint Ally Lang to the America 250 committee?
I'll make the motion to appoint Ally Lang to America 250.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of appointing Ally Lang to the America 250 committee, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. The other person, as you know, we have two committees in town hall, the ADA committee, which handles issues, complaints regarding ADA accessibility, whether it to be meetings or town property. And then also our safety committee. And these are usually made up of people within our town hall that choose to work on this committee to help us as a town. So at the current time, we've always had our social services director. And at that time, and right now it's Amy Benatti. Which, by the way, we also have to appoint her as well to ADA, because her term is over. And so basically Jill Karenberg is our HR person, and Jill knows ADA well because she has some personal experience with this. So she would also like to be part of the committee. And we sort of made her an unofficial part, so she just needs to be appointed. And she is going to be our actual chair for a year, just to help with some of the issues that have come up.
We had discussed this before and I thought we had all approved, so.
So if I could have a motion to appoint Jill Karenberg and Amy Benatti to the ADA committee. I think the term is a 1-year position and we renew every year.
Who else is on that committee? Is Jen Datum on it?
We
I
have
don't remember.
Missy Garvin's on it.
Okay.
I think that Jen has resigned her post
Okay.
because of other duties, but she is a resource for us
Mhm.
because they do call her back. Katie Balaka's on it. I sit in on their meetings when something is coming up that's town property wise.
I'll make a motion to appoint Amy Benatti and Jill Karenberg to the ADA committee.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jude. Thank you, Jim. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of appointing Jill Karenberg and Amy Benatti to the ADA committee for the town of Old Lyme, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. Okay, next one is our second ordinance review of the Soundview parking, which I sent to you with revisions in red. I did make copies for you if you didn't bring one. Please let me know. Jim, do you need one?
No.
Okay.
No.
So looking at this, for the parking, Jude, you had questions before about our lots, because
Right.
you didn't want to, and I did make sure with Matt that yes, someone is in the lot at all times. Unless, of course, an emergency calls
Okay.
into play, or if, let's say, somebody has to leave early, but they didn't know it for a dentist or a doctor's appointment, they have to move. But there is usually someone in the lot, patrolling the lot, ticketing those cars or whatever. And if the gate needs to be open or closed, depending on, we do close it if it's full, just to
Mhm.
change because of traffic pattern. But they're there in the lot so that if someone with handicap sticker comes, they can open the lot so they
So-
can be done.
We have someone around for the posted hours that it's open. Unless, of course, somebody has to leave for an hour or two, but we don't close it at 5 when the hour is posted till 8 or 9,
We do not,
unless it's full.
and even then, most of the time and Matt said he doesn't know how many rangers he'd have, but he does do a split shifts. So they come in at different times, but most of them leave between 5:30 and 6. So at that time, as you know, we offer free parking from 6 to 9 in the lot. So the lot is open.
So it's
and left-
open then.
And is left open when they come through. Now, whether private owners choose to, I don't think they're going to leave their lots open
No,
for free from 5 o'clock on.
I've never seen that.
No,
no.
and usually by that time, most of those lots are clearing out anyway. So,
My concern was that we had the same rules that we complied with.
and we will make sure that there are trash cans there
Mhm.
and all those others, good things. So if you're okay with what we have in red, I would send this off to legal.
I've just got a couple things.
Sure.
Under section is this. Under section G,
The new ones
the
in red.
new ones in red for, just a wording instead of, to make it consistent with the rest, just say, note the hours of operation. Because you
Is
have
that
bear
in
the
one?
name.
Is
Yeah,
that in number 1, Jim?
it's number 4.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
to the bottom of the
Because you have
page.
bear the name of owner, list the period, list the
It's down
maximum,
here.
and then it would be note the hours.
When it was in red, I highlighted.
Okay.
Okay.
To just make the syntax more consistent.
Yes, I had the same comment.
And then this one is substantial. Frank Pappalardo, who first proposed some of this, noted that the stipulation that leased lots that are leased by businesses for the exclusive use of their customers had been exempted from this.
Not good.
From having to have an attendant at all times. And he indicated that that was part of the Soundview Commission's discussion. It was sort of one of the conditions. There are business-owned bar owners on the Soundview Commission, and part of their compromise to get this through was to exempt those lots that are leased by businesses for the exclusive use of their customers. Now, they can't charge. We need to be clear on that because a business was charging last
I
year.
got it.
And there is an agreement, a lease agreement that, is in effect for those lots right now. They're approved by zoning, and there is a standard for that. So knowing that we should hold these businesses to those standards, Frank indicated that SVC's discussion concerning this revision of the parking ordinance hinged on having that leased lot
So he
exempted
will-
from.
So that
He
has to
wants
be
to
added.
build that into this because Frank is the one who sent us these.
And it was built in and somehow is missing in this iteration.
Okay.
He did have that in.
Okay, so I can go back to his
Yeah,
email. It
yeah.
wasn't noted. Everything was in bold that he wanted to put back in. I did not see anything in bold about, so business, I need to add the business owners into it.
Right, the leased lot.
I'll check his email again. Leased lots. Okay, so what I will do is I will add that in
Mhm.
and I will send you both a draft.
Sounds good.
And with that added in, and then with your permission, what I'd like to do to sort of move this one along is get legals at least their 2 cents, and then we can
Mhm.
vote on this at the next meeting.
Okay.
If that meets with your approval, that's the
That
way I'll
works.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is the ordinance review of the notices of meetings. Also, anybody need a copy?
No.
So
Thank you.
Jude, we did talk to legal and we talked about a non-binding policy, which would be also adopted by the Board of Selectmen. And that basically reads that we would endeavor to provide notices. I know you said the day and Hartford Current. They suggested putting and or, just in case it was a summer meeting,
Okay.
that you wouldn't have to do the Hartford Current, and also, also in this date and time, how many papers who will be where, when, what.
Exactly. My
Um,
concern was that we're asking our community members to subscribe to the day and nothing else if they want to see the legal notices.
That's-
So and
it's a
or
very
is okay.
That's a very good
concern
point.
with the and or is that it could be the way it's written, the Hartford Current and not the day.
Right.
So we're back to one paper.
So if you want
I
to
like them
change,
both there still.
Yeah, if, I can live with day and current,
Yes.
but I can't live with just current.
And I can't live with just the day.
Yeah,
And
so-
I've subscribed to the day, but not the current. It's people in this community who said they don't read the day. So I don't want to make their,
do you want both?
I want both.
Yes, Jim?
Of those two choices, yes, I would.
Thank you. I'll add, take it out.
And
All right.
also, I think first line, second paragraph at the end, in addition to the publication in the day, it
Yes.
should be in addition to publication in the day. Take out the,
In addition to publication in the day and Hartford Current. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, which brings us to old business, section C.
Mm-hmm.
So at our Board of Finance meeting,
Wrote that.
was it
Sure.
last week? I'm giving you a copy of this.
I have that one. My
No,
notes
but this
on it.
one's new and
Okay, a new
updated.
one.
This is
Great.
new and updated.
Okay.
At our Board of Finance meeting last week, we were talking about this project. And Andy Russell made it clear that we should get this engineering done. He said the engineering should be done. We should get the bid plans and get an idea of this cost. He said we have been kicking the can down the road for too long. And that was his quote. So the additional money that we would need to complete the engineering plans is $4,875, which has already
Right
been
here.
approved by town. We've already spent $9,000 on that engineering. And Eric prepared this page for us. You'll see some in red that are basically costs that we believe we're going to have to go to, but I was speaking to an engineer today on a very different subject, but he said lots of times when somebody comes in to bid on a project, they have another way to go around something. So he said if you give them the flexibility, they may have something that they've done for another town that also met FEMA and that they'll work with your engineer on. But I have heard from many mothers and such and senior citizens who say they go there to have their coffee. They've had pizza at night. They bring their children there. They've had birthday parties. LYSB uses it for their beach dances. They said this is something that is well loved. It is thought of. It's shade structure. And we're thrilled that we're going to find a way to make it work for the summer of 25. But we really feel that we should at least get the information, and getting a bid out is not costing us a dime to get a bid. And so that we can prepare and decide if this is something that we move forward on. But we've already spent 2/3 of what we need for engineering.
So my questions are, we are saying in order to get a bid, we need to complete the engineering?
Mhm.
If that's the case, I would be in favor of approving the engineering only not to exceed $14,500.
Right, and that's what he has.
And then it goes out for competitive bids.
Right.
My next question is,
Did you want to make that as a motion?
I would like to make that as a motion.
Okay.
I didn't know if we were ready for that yet.
Sure. If
I
you're
would
ready.
like to make a motion to complete the engineering for the White Sands Beach Pavilion rebuild, reconstruction,
Yeah,
not to exceed $14,500 in engineering fees. And that then we can evaluate whether the roof is going to be steel or wood, what the materials are, but only the engineering plans that I am make the motion for.
I will second.
further discussion?
Yeah, Jude and I we're in agreement, and I don't think either one of us were trying to delay things unnecessarily, but also taking Mr. Greco's comments into play. The number that we have in front of us, the total projected cost was huge. And I think it's something that, it'd be very hard to justify to people in town of Old Lyme. So I think we were trying to be fiscally prudent.
Agreed.
And that was the impetus for delaying this vote. Hearing from Andy Russell at the Board of Finance, I mean, he's a fiscal conservative, so that also, if he's in favor of it, that means something. And my concern had been that if we go down this road to engineer that sort of a structure, which seems like it's incredibly overbuilt for a gazebo, that it would almost it would preclude us from doing anything but a very expensive structure on that beach. So that was my concern. But since we have the remaining engineering is $4,875, we're already into it for $9,452. I would go along with completing the engineering, then at least we can get a bid and we'll know what the real numbers are. So I would also be in favor for that reason.
And now we can discuss it, right? You've second.
He started to
I,
discuss, I would say.
Yeah. With that said, I think from having spoken to many people in town who are builders or people who have experience in beach communities, this may come back and bite me, but everyone seems to think that this is excessive for a beach gazebo, no matter where it is. So that's why I put my limit at 14,500 and then to be determined.
I did check in with someone who was involved in one of the beach, but they do have the same type of system building wise as far as for FEMA reasons over at one of the beaches in Saybrook. And they said, of course, it wasn't that expensive because we did it many, many years ago. And they said, we might only be up to the 500-year flood, but he said, we'll take our chances. And he said, we won't be around if it happens. So he said, you're going to the 1,000-year flood.
And there's no turning back from that 1,000-year requirement?
No, FEMA, and Eric sent a very detailed reasons to us. Eric Knapp and Eric Olson both reached out and tried to get thing. This is the solstice stones.
Vote.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. So if we could have a vote to approve that. That Jude said not to exceed the $14,500, of which you've already spent some. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. You're not. He eyed. Okay, and then the last thing on our agenda is the solstice stone signage that Jim had gotten a grant for, and we can find some money to cover under signage in another area to pay for this. So this is the proof. And I know there was I think this picture was lightened a little bit, the one in the bottom left.
Yeah, we're going through, right now we're in the color proof process. So we're talking about lightening that picture on the bottom a little bit.
Jim, can you give us the dimensions? Is this the actual
Yeah, no, this is
inches?
not what it's going to be.
Was
but
it 18 by 24? I think it's 18 by 24.
We have 12 by 18.
Okay.
12 and a half by 18 and a half. It's the exact same size as the one at Horseneck Creek.
We talked about that before. Is it mounted on a board?
It's a board. Yeah, it'll be the color proof. So it's going to be like, like this. And then it's got, and this is all graffiti proof.
Got it.
And it's
And that board's attractive down at Horseneck.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And it's got a base that tamper resistant bolts and et cetera, et cetera. It's a pretty sturdy
Mhm.
structure and they do
Public
this.
Works will put it in.
Public Works will put it in.
Where will you locate it? Is it gonna be right next to the stone or over by the covered waiting bus?
I was gonna talk to Ed Adante about it. But I thought it would be actually, this pretty easy to show on this picture. So here you have the bus stop.
Yep.
And there's a bench right here on the other side of the
Mhm.
sidewalk. And I thought between the sidewalk and the bench,
Okay,
so that when you get off the bus, you'll read it there. If you put it in the street, I think it'll look a little random.
oh, no, it's,
And it's also, if you put it between the bench and the sidewalk, they have to weed whack around those pilings
Sure.
over there. They have to weed whack around the bench. So it won't be in the way, the mowers can still, go through and they're weed whacking there anyway. So, but I'm going to talk to Ed about it.
I trust Jim's proofreading on this. I'm sure he can recite it in his sleep by now.
This has gone back and forth.
He's got back. I just wanted to share this. It's
Yeah.
not that we have to vote on it because we've already
Mhm.
approved the funding, but
Got it.
if you do pick up any errors on it when you're reading this late at night, and you can't sleep,
Yeah.
please let Jim know,
Okay,
before it goes to print. But,
But yeah, we
it looks beautiful.
we went back and forth with the designer a number of times because there were like little glitches where a letter would be added or one subtracted. So,
and you have the Hilliard name in there.
Yeah.
That's great.
Jim, have you heard any more from the family who wants to do a dedication, plaque for their father? down there.
I have not. When I started pricing this, I realized there's only so much we could do. Because I saw the plaque in Duck River was really attractive, done by a different company. So I called that company and got pricing. And based on the grant that we got, we really couldn't afford it.
Right.
So if we were doing a plaque of that size, I thought we could do something about the families, but because of this plaque, there's only so much we can put on it. But I think there's ideas we can have about the town parking lot. We can, this doesn't have to be the last historical sign in the area, especially since we have Ella Grasso's house down there that I think should be marked somehow.
So would it be okay? I mean, I think you have their contact and I'm sure I do too, but
Mhm.
I think that we should maybe share them this and the cost of this.
Mhm.
If they wanted to design, I mean, they wanted to pay for it. So basically it would be them, but we can share that this company does this, this is what they did. We'd have to approve what would go on it. But I think to say to them, here's a place to start
Mhm.
and go from there.
Yeah.
And then say, and then we can talk about where to put it after that. Because I just feel like I don't want to drop the ball and because they really were adamant they'd love to do.
Yeah.
And someone else too, that also was involved, another family also joined in.
Well, I think that's where you're going to get into. People like,
How
what
many
about me? What about my grandpa?
Well,
But yeah, I have no problem with it. I mean, I talked to Jan when I was writing the book 10, 15 years ago. They're wonderful
okay.
folks to talk to.
Okay, so that is the last thing on our agenda. If I could have a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
6:28. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you both very much. I'm gonna run across the street.
You're gonna have a lot of company, I hope.
I don't know.
I'll see you there.